For thousands of years, the Mahabharata has told the story of Dwaravati. According to the ancient Sanskrit texts, this was Lord Krishna's magnificent coastal capital, a sprawling metropolis perched on the edge of the Arabian Sea. The verses describe a masterclass in urban planning. Dwaravati translates to the city with many gates. It was reportedly fortified by towering walls, protected by massive stone gates known as gopurams, and filled with immense architectural wealth. But the texts also recorded sudden end. The legend states that as Krishna departed the earthly realm, marking the beginning of the Kali Yuga, the ocean rose and swallowed the entire settlement, leaving behind only a single temple standing. For centuries, historians treated that apocalyptic sinking as pure allegory. Without any physical ruins to point to, Dwaravati existed solely in the realm of faith, leaving a massive vacuum in the archaeological record. That perspective is shifting. Here, on the modern-day western coast of Gujarat, researchers are starting to ask if those ancient verses might actually be heavily stylized historical logs. Marine explorers have spent recent decades scanning the depths of the Arabian Sea just off this shoreline, and they have located enormous underwater anomalies that finally break that long-standing vacuum of evidence. To understand what they found, we have to place the poetry of the Mahabharata side by side with modern sonar data and diving logs, checking to see if the myth actually matches the map. The physical search gained serious momentum in the 1980s. Archaeological dive teams began plunging 20 to 40 meters down into the murky waters directly off the coast of modern Dwarka. The ancient verses spoke of fortified structures. On the ocean floor, those divers mapped out the remains of sandstone walls and the heavily weathered foundations of an ancient jetty. This rectangular block is one of several massive stone anchors recovered from the site. Along with these heavy anchors, researchers brought up scattered pottery shards and stone beats, confirming this location was once a highly active maritime hub. While these findings don't verify every spiritual detail of the epic, the presence of these artifacts suggests the material world described in the verses was rooted in a tangible geographical reality. The investigation expanded significantly in the early 2000s, moving further south to the Gulf of Khambhat, where remote sensing equipment scanned the deeper seafloor. This sonar map highlights an enormous anomaly, a 9-kilometer stretch of symmetrical grid-like structures on the seabed. Scientists fiercely debate this. Some interpret these intersecting lines as foundational city walls, while geologists argue tectonic fault lines naturally fracture in identical grid patterns. Look at this coastal road collapsing into the sea, demonstrating the region's severe geological instability. Scientists investigating how an ancient city sank point to gradual mechanics, massive coastal erosion from tectonic shifts, or steady global sea level rise following the last ice age. But the texts describe a city swallowed almost instantly. That points researchers toward a competing hypothesis, a sudden catastrophic tsunami, or an underwater landslide, known as a turbidity trend, rushing in to bury the settlement overnight. Whether the water crept up over centuries of glacial melting or crashed down in a single tectonic rupture, the Gujarat coast possesses the exact geological mechanisms required to make the Kali Yuga destruction scientifically plausible. The physical mechanics of a sinking city make sense. The primary friction dividing the academic community today comes down to the timeline. This timeline illustrates the massive gap in dating estimates. Some securely link the artifacts to the Bronze Age Harappan civilization, around 4,000 years ago. Others argue carbon dating of dredged wood pushes the settlement thousands of years earlier. Because of this massive discrepancy, mainstream archaeologists maintain a strictly cautious stance. Locating submerged sandstone walls off the coast of India proves that an ancient settlement existed, but it does not definitively validate the literal divine events surrounding Lord Krishna. The scientific method demands a much higher burden of proof. Before anyone can officially declare a mythological text validated by proximity alone, teams need to conduct rigorous, deeply stratified underwater excavations to lock down a precise chronology. Even with the dating debates ongoing, pulling physical anchors and walls from the Arabian Sea forces us to reevaluate how oral traditions record history. The Dwarka temple functions as a living legacy of this vanished maritime hub, connecting a contemporary religious center to a physical archaeological site. The sheer volume of evidence scattered across the seafloor proves that a thriving, walled city actually stood here, and when it was swallowed by the ocean, the survivors ensured it remained embedded in human memory, passed down through generations of verse. Our ancestors did not invent these stories out of thin air. Long before modern science had the sonar equipment to map the seafloor, they utilized the power of ancient myth to preserve the geographic memory of a real, lost, sunken world.